Good morning, y'all. Um, I'm making this video about a subject that is very hard for me, and it's very emotional to me. But I'm making it because I think there may be some parents out there that watch my channel that maybe are in the same boat. And if I can help any of you at all, even one person, then it's worth it. Let me say that I have my younger son's full permission to talk about his life. The next thing that I think maybe you need to know is that my two boys, while they're 20 years apart, were raised very similarly. My older son did have a couple of extra stepdads, but from the time he was 8, I got together with his stepdad who adopted him. He carries that man's name, and he was a very, very good dad to him. That was the Colonel. My younger son, I got together with his stepdad when he was 3. This was husband number 6. He was also a very good dad, and he was also in the Marine Corps. Now, the other thing that I want to say before I get started really into the meat of the video is that, one, it's really hot in here, but the other thing I want to say is there would never, ever be anyone who did, would, or could abuse my children. Ever. Never. They could not abuse them verbally. They could not abuse them emotionally. And they certainly were not going to lay a hand on my children. Now, their stepdads had the full authority of a biological dad. I wasn't one of those women who said, oh, you can support my children and you can support me, but don't you discipline my children. No. If you're supporting a child financially, emotionally, physically, you have the right to behave just like a biological parent would. My older son left home when he was 18 years old. He graduated high school, got in his Cadillac, and took off for Montana. He has never, in his whole life, since he left, ever asked his mother or his dad for 1 penny. He's very much like me in that he does not mind being alone. He's very, very independent. And he's very, very responsible. Very responsible. So, that being said, my younger son, like I said, was 3 when I got together with his stepdad. This man could not have been a better dad, okay? He took him to all his practices. I mean, this kid started, when he was 4, playing hockey, roller hockey. Now, his older brother got him into that, I'm going to tell you. Took him down, signed him up, paid for it, came home and told me he was going to play hockey. And so my younger son played hockey. He played baseball. He played football. He sucked at basketball. He only played that for one season. Now, my son is biracial. A lot of people thought because of that, woo, he's going to be a great basketball player. No. This baby, I was single. I was unmarried. I never thought that 20 years after my first child that I would ever be able to get pregnant. Y'all know I took fertility drugs when I was married to the colonel. We did everything. We stood on our heads. He wore boxer shorts, the whole business. So, he was quite the shocker baby for me. I was 40. I had a good job. I was managing an apartment community that had been a huge challenge in the beginning, but I had everything running smoothly. I had a brand new pickup truck. I had money in my pocket. My apartment was part of my compensation. I mean, I was on top of it, you guys. So, when I found out about this baby, a split second, I thought about an abortion. I couldn't even say I thought about it. It came in, it went out of my head. Just was not an option for me. I knew there was a bumpy road ahead of me, but it didn't matter. He didn't ask to be born. He didn't ask to be created. It was my responsibility to take care of him. So, his sperm donor, and that is all he's entitled to be called, wanted nothing to do with him. He just begged me to get an abortion. And I said, no, 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 go away. So, my baby was born. Almost killed me, y'all. I was awake and I refused the epidural. Let me tell you, ladies, if you have any daughters or granddaughters out there, tell them to take the drug, okay? But anyway, he was born. He was so beautiful, y'all. If I had not been awake, I would have said, what a gorgeous baby. Now bring me mine. He was beautiful. People used to stop me on the street and tell me that I should get him into commercials. Anyway, from the time that he came home, we did have a scare when he was about a week old. I had to take him to the hospital. He had to have all these tests, and they did a spinal tap, and we were there for 3 days, and he got over it. Don't know what it was. Doctors didn't know what it was, but he was fine. He was a big, big, healthy baby. The people on my property used to call him Buddha. Now, Buddha was difficult, y'all. He was the most difficult baby I had ever seen. He was stubborn. If he wanted something, he didn't just cry until he got it. He would scream. He wouldn't stay in his baby bed. He had to be sleeping right on top of me. He was really, really a difficult baby, y'all. He was so ornery that for almost 2 years, I had to get a babysitter on Saturday to watch him for me so I could get my chores done. If we went to the grocery store and he was sitting in the cart, if I didn't keep him in the middle of the row, he was knocking stuff off the shelves. He was one of those kids you see in the store that gets underneath all the racks of clothes, pulls things down. I mean, he was difficult. from the beginning. He almost got thrown out of a little, this lady had a little daycare center in her home, and she was awesome. And they only had 6 little kids, and her mother helped her. And my son was so difficult that she wrote me a letter and told me that if he didn't change pretty soon, she was going to have to stop keeping him. I still have that letter. It scared me. It's scary when you have a child that's so difficult and nothing you do gets into their little head. It doesn't matter. You can give them 1,000,000 times out. You can talk to them and explain to them until you are blue in the face. It does not matter. It did not matter to him. He was going to do what he was going to do. He was so different than my first one. And it was really hard, y'all. So he grew up that way. Very difficult, very ornery. And the older he got, the worse he got. He was argumentative. He was stubborn. He was hateful. He talked back. He was disrespectful. He wouldn't do anything you asked him to. You could ground him for a week or a month. He did not care. And let me say, this child was extremely intelligent. He didn't make good decisions, but he was very smart. When they were in the 6th grade, they did reading testing. All the schools had to do this. He was in the 6th grade. And they called me in to talk about his test results, and they said, he is reading at an above college level. He could read the Wall Street Journal and make sense out of it. Now that's how smart he was. If he really, really wanted something, he could get those grades up like that. Did he really care? No. He wouldn't study. He didn't do homework. I mean, y'all, you can tell me, oh, you should have done this. Oh, you should have done that. If you'd have done this, it would have been different. Wrong. Some children are born the way they are, and there is nothing we can do about it, y'all. So, if there are any of y'all out there who has a child like this, do not feel guilty. I don't feel guilty. I raised my children better than what my parents did. I loved them. I was affectionate. I built them up. I complimented them. I told them how handsome they were, how smart they were, how proud I was of them. They had a good life. They had a good life, both of them. And my younger one, he always lived in a nice home, rode around in nice vehicles, wore nice clothes, had just about everything his other friends had. Now, we tried not to spoil him. He didn't get everything he wanted, and he had to work for some of it. I mean, we didn't just hand him everything. He had chores to do. And speaking of chores, you could threaten him with anything. He'd go, what are you going to do? Are you going to beat him? I even took him to a child psychologist trying to get to the bottom of whatever it was that was bugging him. And he would just tell them what they wanted to hear. No, my parents are great. I don't have any problems. I'm doing fine. I don't know why my mother brought me in here. So, when he got to be a teenager, y'all, he got bigger than me in a hurry, and I was 5'7" at the time. Now, I only weighed about 110 pounds, but, I was not a little tiny woman. His stepdad was big. He was 6'1", weighed about 220, Marine. He wasn't going to get the jump on him. But his stepdad just started throwing up his hands and saying, you know what? I'm done. I can't get through to this kid. He won't go anywhere with me. He doesn't want to do anything together. He lies. He destroys property. He was so difficult, y'all. And we tried everything. Dr. Phil said, take every single thing out of the room except their mattress and leave it that way. And they have to earn their stuff back. We did that. He didn't care, y'all. He just spent his time jumping up and down on his mattress, looking out the window, hollering at the neighbors. We tried everything. And I do not feel guilty. I don't. Now, to fast forward, this video was really long, y'all, and I'm sorry. But he excelled in sports. Excelled. He was so good at hockey. He was a goalie. Now, nobody liked to be the goalie, you guys. That wasn't the exciting part. It was boring. You had to stand back in the net. You had to block but he was so good that other teams wanted to borrow him to be their goalie. We did that for a little bit. And then finally I told my husband, I said, you know what? This just doesn't seem right. He's not on their team. Why should he be helping them have the advantage? When he played baseball, he was a catcher. And he was good. And when he ran those bases, he made home runs when he was batting. He would slide into first plate, whatever you call that. I mean, he was good. And when he started playing football, he was amazing. He was so fast. Now, I don't know what that position is where the, what do you call that? Dang, I can't remember. The guy that throws the ball. I mean, and my youngin would catch that ball and make touchdowns. Or he would be sacking the other person that had the football. He was very good. In fact, when he got to junior high, I had a couple of coaches tell me, Deb, he's going to be able to get a college scholarship. No doubt about that. And the last year he was in school, they had a scout come. And you can't talk to a kid unless he's a senior. And my son was sophomore, I think. Anyway, he saw him playing and he said, I will be back to talk to this kid. His coach told me that. So then one day, he came home and he was so mad. He wouldn't tell me what was wrong. Well, I talked to a couple of his friends and he said, well, he got into it with the coach on the football field. And the coach told him, if you don't apologize to me, you're off my team. What did my child do? He shucked his uniform right on the field and left. And he never went back. And that was the beginning, really, of the end. He stopped playing sports. He didn't do anything at school. He started skipping school. I would take him, drop him off, and as soon as I was gone, he left. He finally dropped out. He was smoking pot. He was hanging out with the older guys. I used to test him, y'all, drug test him. And the only thing he ever tested for was pot. I did everything I could, you guys. I just do not know. I don't think that there was anything that I could do or his stepdad could do to have changed him. He was who he was, and he was going to make his own choices. And that's what I used to tell him. Sweetie, I am not in control of your life. I'm not in control of you being grounded. I'm not in control of you getting in trouble at school. You are in control of your life. You make the decisions that cause these consequences. You're in control. I am not in control of your life. I wish I was. So he dropped out of school. He refused to take out the garbage. I would go to work. I'd come home. The apartment kitchen would be trashed. His friends would have come over. They would have cooked everything in sight, left all the dirty dishes and the mess for me. I could go on and on, you guys. He would get up in my face and tell me what a loser I was. That hurt. His stepdad and I separated and divorced when he was about 14, 15. You know what his response was when we told him? Oh man, now we're going to be poor. That's all he cared about. He didn't want to be poor. But so I was back to being a single parent when he was about 14 or 15 years old. I had no control over that child. He would not do anything I asked him to. And he kept screaming at me, I'm leaving. I'm leaving. All you do is nag, nag, nag. I'm sick of listening to it. So finally I said, you know what? If you really want to leave, I can't stop you. But you need to think hard about this, because I'm not going to keep a 2-bedroom expensive apartment if you don't even want to be here, which he wasn't most of the time. He didn't come home at night. I didn't know where he was. It was calling the police, calling the hospitals. It was horrible, y'all. I love him with all my heart. I would die for this child, both of them. So finally, I came home from work one day and he was packing. He was even packing my flowered suitcase, y'all. He was packing. He goes, I'm leaving. I said, okay. I don't know what you're going to do for money. I don't know where you're going to stay. You dropped out of school. You don't have any skills. Can you get a job? I'll make it. Don't worry about me. I'm street smart. Really? So he left, y'all. And I got a studio close to where I lived, where I was working for the nonprofit. I gave up that expensive apartment, just like I said I was going to do. And I made up my mind. I had always told my children, if you ever get in trouble and go to jail, you can call me and you can tell me where you are. I would appreciate that. But don't for 1 minute, not 1 second, entertain the idea that I am getting you out. You get in, you get yourself out. So, I'd give him a little money here and there, and I stopped giving him money. That's enabling. He was only spending it on drugs. Now, I would buy him shoes, socks, underwear, occasionally some clothes, other clothes. I would take him out to eat. I would take him and his friends out to eat. But I stopped giving him my hard-earned money to spend on drugs. Now, I don't know when he started doing other drugs besides pot, but he did. He moved from here up to Washington. He had some friends up there because we lived up there before when he was a teenager. So he moved from here up there. I was already up there at my older son's house, and he was staying with an old buddy of his. We would email back and forth a little bit, He really didn't care too much about Mom. He wasn't worried about me, what was going on with me. It was all about him. So I didn't get a response from him for about 3 months. By that time, I was back down here because my friend was going through all her chemo. And her daughter, Emma, was sitting on the couch with us, and we were talking about him. And I said, I have a bad feeling, y'all. So Emma, being the brainiac that she is, looked it up. And sure enough, y'all, he was in prison. My baby boy was 21 years old. He committed a terrible crime. He didn't hurt anybody, but he could have. He was so strung out on drugs. He was totally out of his mind. Now, y'all, I never drank. I never did any drugs. I had a good work ethic. I was a good example. And his stepdad was an awesome example. He went to college while he was in the Marine Corps. When he got out, he got a master's degree. He was a good man. And he was so good to my little boy. But it just didn't matter what we did. So he made bad choices. Now he's still in prison. He's got another year to go. And as soon as he got to prison, I used to beg him to get his GED. He didn't care. As soon as he got to jail and got dried out, he got his GED like that. He didn't study for it. He took the test. He got it. I have always had faith that my little boy had a lot of good in him and that he really was a good person. He made a lot of bad choices, y'all. Anyway, we communicate all the time now, and he's getting things lined out so that he can go to community college when he gets out. He's very smart, you guys. He could knock it out of the park. Whatever he chooses to do, he could do it. And I have every faith. And all I've been able to do for him for years is pray for him. And y'all pray for him, okay? He's my baby boy. Now, what I want to tell you guys, if you have a child or a grandchild that has gone down the wrong road and you've tried to love them and you've tried to set them on the right path, but you weren't able to, do not feel guilty. Because as sad as I am and as heartbreaking as this is, I do not feel guilty, y'all. I don't beat myself up for the life that my child had. He had a very good life. And he would tell you that. He would tell you that. So, I just wanted to make this video, and like I said, I have his full permission. And I just want you guys to not beat yourselves up. Continue to love that person. Maybe they're an adult in your life. Maybe it's an aunt or an uncle. Who knows? But most of us have someone in our family that has not done right and not made good choices. Just keep loving them and pray for them. I truly believe God has a plan for Sam. Oops. I didn't intend to say that, but it doesn't matter. He wouldn't care. He's just like me. He's an open book. You ask him, he'll tell you. He promises me that his days of lying are over. He gets it. He gets it. That he was in control of his own life and he screwed it up. He screwed up. But he's determined to turn that around. And I'm praying that he does. I love you guys, and I'm sorry for the length of the video. But love yourselves and don't feel guilty. I do not feel guilty, y'all. I did the best I could. And He loves me. And He knows that I did the best I could. Whew. Do something fun today, y'all. I went to the car wash. I went to the car wash. That was a big deal for me. I'll talk to y'all later, okay? Bye.